Oh, okay, here it is. I think it's gonna put me on there now. All right, sis, I gotta go. I got 4 minutes to get it together. I'll talk to you soon. Assalamu alaikum, family. Let me know if you could see me, hear me. This is the first time that we will be Alicia, no excuses. I like that. No excuses. That's right. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Gabrielle. Good to see you. Share, 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 spread, spread, spread. We will be going live soon. Good to see you. Share, 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 spread, spread, spread. Turn that off. Give it a few minutes. Inshallah. Time that Thank you, brother Rodolfo, for clarifying that sound check and view check. Thank you, brother Rodolfo, for clarifying that sound check and view check. Thank you, brother Rodolfo, for clarifying that sound check and view check. Thank you, brother Rodolfo, for clarifying that sound check and view check. Thank you, brother. Welcome, Sister Saran. I noticed there's a 20-second delay on Zoom. I don't know how technically challenged that will be as we cover this material. I noticed there's a 20-second delay on Zoom. I don't know how technically challenged that will be as we cover this material. If you stay long enough, I promise you, you're going to see a model of the atom in my hand, inshallah. If you stay long enough, I promise you, you're going to see a model of the atom in my hand. Remember, this is open to your children, teenagers. I don't care what the age is. Remember, this is open to your children, teenagers. I don't care what the age is. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. We forever give him praise and thanks for his coming and for his guidance and for his wise choice of raising up a divine leader and divine teacher and a divine guide. For his coming and for his guidance and for his wise choice of raising up a divine leader and divine teacher and the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and for his representative, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their righteous names, I greet you in the greeting words of peace. We say in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their righteous names, I greet you in the greeting words of peace. We say in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum. I want to thank everyone for taking the moment out to join us to build and bond on the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, what is known as the Supreme Wisdom. The motivation for such sessions came from me feeling that I needed to do something to contribute to the great works and teachings of my father. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and to aid and help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the great resurrection of the dead. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and to aid and help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the great resurrection of the dead. This great teachings is available to all that wish to chime in and learn and build on such teachings, but to offer us more of a scientific approach to discussing, analyzing, and understanding this wonderful truth that we've been blessed to receive. That we've been blessed to receive. This is weird because I'm hearing myself after a 20-second delay speak and I can't speak normal. So I hope if you can let me know that how it sounds to you. Am I coming across clear enough? How it sounds to you. Am I coming across clear enough? It sounds great. Praise be to Allah. Thank you, Sister Sharon. I'm so happy that I got some kind of feedback. So we'll go ahead and continue. Um, the background looks pretty good. It sounds great. Praise be to Allah. Thank you, Sister Sharon. I'm so happy that I got some kind of feedback. So we'll go ahead and continue. The background looks pretty good. Sounds great. Praise be to Allah. Thank you, Sister Sharon. Today we're going to go into the first Adam, and we're going to look at the atom as best as we can to analyze it and really go back into the mind of Allah himself, the self-created God who created himself in total triple darkness 76 trillion years ago. So teaches the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Self-created God who created himself in total triple darkness 76 trillion years ago. So teaches the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Did you not know that the Caucasian man and scientists are recently discovering the atom and the shape of the atom and some of its properties? And they at one time did not know that they could crack the atom until less than 50 years ago. And we believe, and we have evidence to show this, that here in Chicago, when the enemies broke into our mosque, a lot of the FBI, a lot of the agents confiscated a lot of the lessons and the supreme wisdom of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, specifically dealing in detail with the atom, with astronomy, with the science of the universe, the planets, the measurements, the distance. Specifically dealing in detail with the atom, with astronomy, with the science of the universe, the planets, the measurements, the distance. Specifically dealing in detail with the atom, with astronomy, with the science of the universe, the planets, the measurements. Okay, I need to mute the phone, Sister Lynette. Let me try that. Thank you. Boy, mute the phone. Okay, I need to mute the phone, Sister Lynette. Let me try that. Thank you. Give me a second so I can mute this phone and I don't hear all of this feedback. It doesn't tell me whether my phone, let me see. Okay, brothers and sisters, I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me now? This is a replica of the atom. This is a replica of the atom. And what I've done was taking taken an egg, which you can have your children do, and overnight put it in a glass of vinegar, cover the whole thing in a glass of vinegar, and for 24 hours, the shell will melt off or come off easily, but you may not see it like I can see it. There's certain geographical, like it really looks like the earth. So I want you to see this oblong shape or oval shape of an atom, which is for scientific purpose and investigation that we're on right now, is to look at the shape of the atom, which the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said is an egg-like shape. Here we see that it is oval, it is oblong, and it takes the shape of the earth itself. When I was about 10 or 11 years old, I once asked my father, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, at the dinner table, I said, "Dear Apostle, what came before the atom?" And his answer was very short at the time, and he said, "Thought." Thought. That's all he said. And at that time, of course, I was looking for more. And I would ask my father questions like, what was the fuel behind the sun? And he would laugh and kind of chuckle and say, that was the way he was with Master Fard Muhammad, his teacher, as he would ask him what kept the sun burning. And he would simply say it was the will of Allah. So my father, in his own way, was kind of like letting me know that when I asked him about these things, it kind of reminded of him when he was with his teacher, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So when I asked him about what was before the atom, or that first atom that we were taught that Allah created himself out of the atom, and in some cases an atom of water or an atom of life, he said that the first thing that preceded that was thought. So as I grew older and learned later that he also said in some of the teachings that thought was a force. And you may want to take notes on this. You may want to be able to try to get as much information on what we're discussing now about the atom. He said that it was an egg-shaped atom, that it wasn't completely round. And even the scientists today, the scholars, are catching up to the wisdom and the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as they further explore and investigate. So during the time that the supreme wisdom was given to us, and they broke into our mosque, this is on record, they confiscated a lot of the lessons and a lot of the materials that helped them, we believe, make great advancement on the knowledge and the study of the atom. And from that time, which from the University of Chicago, you have Fermi Labs, which were places and scientific sites that did much to advance the knowledge of the atom. And we believe that it was part of their studying some of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, more on that later. But here, imagine, as you can see a universe behind me, this was in total triple darkness, a force of thought, a force of light, the first light, because Allah, the self-created God, was in fact the first light unto himself. And the force of his will, the force of his projection, the force of his mind to go to war with darkness, to go to war with triple darkness, he became the first Muslim to establish peace in the universe. He became the first Muslim to go to war with that which was total darkness. And from that force of thought, from that force of mind, produce all that we see in this beautiful universe. And there's unlimited stars, unlimited light, a path of light as a result of the first light, or the self-created God. In this, we're going to learn about there are certain eccentricities, that this is an eccentric circle because there's polars in it. In it is negative and positive. In it is strength and weakness. In it is like a universe unto itself. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us that everything that we see on the outside is inside the atom. Now, many of you may ask, where is that atom at today? And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad simply says, we are standing on it. That is right. The atom that Allah created himself, the self-created atom, is the earth itself. It is the planet Earth upon which we stand, upon which we all come from, upon which we all depend our life and sustenance on, is the earth itself. You may say, did the earth come before the sun? Yes. So the first atom of life, of light and power and force coming from the self-created God came as a result, or moved toward the completion of heavens plural and earth singular. The home in which he lives on, or which you say, well, Allah's home is everywhere. That is true. In fact, as the hadith teaches, that this universe is too small for Allah to contain himself in, that he can only fit inside the heart of man. He can only fit inside the heart of his servant. So the universe that we're seeing right now is moving towards something. It is moving toward perfection, because the narrow of the poles, the ending of these poles, or the eccentricness of these different planets shows you that God left us a little room for perfection. And this is why our eyes are oval, our heads are not completely round, and there are no perfect circles in the universe. The seed of the watermelon, the shape of the watermelon, everything is oval shape, giving us a sign of the God of perfection to come along to perfect his wisdom for a new reality after the defects and after the imperfections and after the impurity of man is brought out. And that's why in the 112th Surah, Al-Ikhlas, Kul hu walahu ahad, Allah, lam yulid wa lam yulad wa lam yakuluhu kufuwan ahad. Say he, Allah, is one. Allah is he of whom nothing is independent, but he upon whom we all depend on. He neither begets nor is he begotten. Well, that's dealing with the knowledge of the original man, of God himself. Is dealing with that which never preceded us or came before us. Is dealing with the fact of al-ikhlas in Arabic, meaning to purify yourself from dross, from impurities. So the whole universe is moving toward perfection. It is getting rid of that. It's a catharsis of something of sorts. It is getting rid of all of that it doesn't desire. So what we're seeing is the manifestation of defects in us, in others, in the world, working out all of this for the glorification and the perfection of Allah himself. Now, it is one thing for us to say that I strive to get closer to Allah, and I strive to be near Allah. And I do have another thing to show you that I'll show you in a minute that I have to get. It's a board that shows you eccentricities. And in other words, the more eccentric you are, or the more eccentric a planet is in terms of its shape, the more it is further away from the center. We are taught, and for many, many thousands of years, they didn't know what was the center of the universe. Many of them thought that the center of the universe was the earth itself. Some said the sun. But the study guides that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan guided us to learn from, we have learned that the center of the universe is not quite the sun. It is near the universe, but the center of the universe is Allah himself. So as we draw nearer to Allah, as we draw closer to Allah, the eccentricities or the outer part of that expands and it gets wider and wider. So every time you pray and go down, glorifying Allah to get closer to Him, the atmosphere around you expands and gets wider and wider to almost a perfect circle. But the further away you get away from the center of Allah, the more narrow and on the outside you get. So in this shape, we have two foci. You have a minimum and you have a maximum foci. But with the center of a perfect circle, you have only one focus. One focus. I can't see any comments and I can't get any feedback yet from what is going on. And I hope that you're following what we have to say. This is a replica of the earth. This is a replica of the first Adam. And the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that if you want to learn more about the beginning of God, study the chicken and the egg. What came first, the chicken or the egg? And in that study, which I encourage all of us to force our minds to reflect and think upon, so that we can try to get closer to the mind of God Himself, to see Him and to understand His way and to be closer to that center. Okay, I'm going to take a minute because I want to give you another example of being in the center. Give me 1 second while I pull this up. So I'm going to step away from the screen. I promise you. Give me 30 seconds. Okay. I'm going to demonstrate for you a compass. Okay, let's look at if this center was Allah Himself. Let's imagine Allah being at the center of this huge universe. Now, as we go around, oh boy, this is going to be hard. I'm so sorry, brothers and sisters. Bear with your brother. Oh, my string fell. My universe is collapsing out of chaos. We must get some order here. I'm trying to show you the elliptical path of just how science is about experimentation, by the way. Science is about trial and error. So if you don't have patience for this, I'm so sorry. I can't help you on that. But if you have patience, I would hope that you can benefit from some of this scientific experimentation so that you can draw a vivid imagination of some of the laws of science as it relates to the teachings. It's one thing to say, I want to get close to Allah. I want to be close to God, right? But it's another way to scientifically see what that looks like. That's what we're trying to do. So you see Allah being at the center. And in other words, the more we, okay, you're going to cooperate, String, eventually. The more we revolve our lives at the center of Allah, probably need to really show some YouTube videos on this. And I really need my dear beloved administrative assistant, Sister Kasima, to kind of chime in. But now this is you. You're getting closer. And the closer you get, my stream, come on. The closer you get, the tighter the circle gets until, if you're like this, it becomes one focus. So far, when you're out on these extremities and the further you go out, the more eccentric you become, or the more eccentric you are away, or there's polarity away from the center. So we have things described as people that are eccentric people. And they tend to be different. They tend to have idiosyncrasies or habits or ways or looks or appearances that's just out of the norm. And, we can philosophize and talk about what's normal and what's not normal. But the point is, the more you are away from that center and the more extreme, the further you are away, the more narrow those poles become, or the more oblong you become. And it actually narrows your scope. It actually narrows the path. But the closer you get to that center, the wider you become. Now let's look at that on a metaphysical or spiritual level. The closer one becomes centered and focused on Almighty God and draw themselves up through practices or having the mindset to develop and purify one's heart, which we're all on that path to do, hopefully. your scope, your circumference is widened and expanded and more toward perfection. Does that make sense? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us in scientific language, given the formula, the depth of one's knowledge determines the circumference of their activity. So looking at that board, and pardon me that the experiment just kind of came out a little tacky because I was too busy trying to get the background set up. But inshallah, if you bear with me, next Saturday, we will try to perfect and get better and better, just like the mind of the Creator himself was doing with this wonderful universe, moving toward perfection and perfecting man himself, al-Lisan. So the 76th surah in the Quran deals with the perfection of man, al-Lisan. And 76 trillion years ago is when we're looking at Allah, the self-created God, beginning the process of self-creation. And in that time, between 76 trillion years ago, 78 trillion years ago, the sun comes to birth. But between that time, or during that time, remember the woman, the second self of God himself, was produced, because out of that, he made or created the female. And she was part of all of the beautiful creation, the adornment. Look at the stars. Look at the earth. We cannot imagine, I wasn't there, but we're trying to climb up to the mind of Allah, and it doesn't hurt, especially with the children and the teenagers, to think on this. Because whether it's Newton or whether all of these great scientists, whether it's the study of Yaqub, who was playing with 2 pieces of steel at 6 years old, the imagination, that's most important right now, beloved brothers and sisters. The imagination and the creativity was given an outlet to express itself. And this is what I hope, in my humble opinion, that we can do as students of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Look beyond lectures and fireball this and fireball that and getting tickled by your ears, by this and that. Let us, I would hope, take a more scientific approach to the teachings and to understand the teachings at the highest level, since this is the highest form of communication, the highest frequency that one can express. We need to think more like scientists. We need to interact more like scientists. Because many of us are being entertained by the truth. And few of us are representing ourselves like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his teacher. I mean, we have great ministers, we have great students, we have great followers. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not trying to beat up on us, dear brothers and sisters. I'm just saying, for the record, we got to be more scientific on our approach. And that is my desire as your brother on Saturdays, to take about an hour for us to think. This is an egg that you can take yourself and put it in some vinegar, and it bounces like a basketball. This is not a boiled egg. This is not a boiled egg. This is, if I smash it, the yolk will come out and it's soft. But, you know, it definitely has buoyancy to it. But looking at this, it's not just the egg, it's the science and study of Allah's creation. What am I looking at? I'm looking at a replica of the atom itself. What am I looking at? I'm looking at a replica of the earth itself. What am I looking at? I'm looking at the law of the circle being with two foci, two extremities or eccentricities. I see negative and positive in this. I see male and female in this. I see the richness of Allah's creation in this, that I may extract from what is small to understand what is immeasurable and what is so large. I hope you understand or get my point, and I hope it's clear as mud, as my old filmmaking teacher used to say. So I'm gonna wrap this up, because we talked about the law of eccentricity, and for you that are way out there off circle, your action speaks for itself. The depth of your knowledge, the diameter of your knowledge is already defining the circumference of your activities or your ways or our ways. I'll say our ways, because none of us are in a position of trying to judge each other. But those of us who are striving to get into the mind and closer into the mind to climb up to the Creator, that is our purpose. We are visitors and guests to this beautiful world and this beautiful creation and universe that He has adorned for us. And may I also say the female as well. She's that creative force in mind to look at things and see beauty, and she's the one that is inclined to love the flowers and the beauty of Allah. That's in a woman's nature more so than a man. So Allah, in His force of thought, remember I asked my father what preceded the atom. He said it was thought. And thought is a force. And that force is a willpower. That is a desire, all wrapped up in that, which we have in our study guides. Moving towards something. He had a goal in mind, a people in mind, a place in mind, moving from 76 trillion years ago. So as we grapple with our own triple darkness, in our own cocoon, in our own houses, in our own chambers, we're forced to go back into our own ecosystem or our own atom to remake and recreate ourselves. And hopefully, if we can learn something or extract something from from the beginning of Allah being the self-created God to put and produce all what we see? Can we be inspired to overcome our little triple darkness? Can we be inspired to overcome and conquer all of the opposition and go to war with that within ourselves? And mainly it starts with self on the inside of us. In this is a negative and positive. In it is a force of positive and negative pulling at each other. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that whenever we're determined to do something, we're met with opposition. We're tried by opposition. So I hope, beloved brothers and sisters, that you learned something about the first Adam. We will continue this next Saturday. And before I get off, I want to talk about the test, the recap test. We're not going to do that right now because right now we're looking for a way to put it into a modem of multiple choice where you can type in the answers and know whether you got the right or wrong answers. And bear with me, inshallah, that's coming soon. But in the meantime, enjoy what you can. Enjoy what you can imagine. Then just simply reading the lessons and reciting the lessons. Let's explore the lessons. Let's go deep, deep into the lessons. And we invite all those who wish to come, whether you are Muslim, non-Muslims, agnostic, atheist, nationalist, Christian, Hebrew, black, white, brown, yellow. We're not concerned about that. We just want to intelligently engage you in this great teachings, life-giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. The most powerful teachings, we believe, that has come to us since, as he says, for the past 66 trillion years ago. I know those numbers are hard to fathom, but this is the depth of the wisdom of the man of God that we are feeding from, and the mind of God that we're feeding from. So during that first period of 76 trillion years ago, 78 trillion years ago, we produced the sun. And then 66 trillion years ago, we had the moon. And we'll get more into that as we go along, but we're going to wrap this up. And I pray that you learned something on the egg, which is no common thing to just scramble and boiled and sunny side up. This egg has a powerful lesson to be learned and shared today. Earlier, I want to just close on this. Earlier today, I had made a post regarding brothers in the COVID crisis, reflecting on myself, growing beards, growing their hair because we couldn't have access to a barbershop, me included. I had a beard. I had a beard as long as, for about 3 months, I didn't shave. I didn't really have a haircut. I grew a little fro. And I really can't grow beards. I'm normally just not that kind of a person that can grow a full beard. I usually develop these, I'll have hair and one little spot, just don't grow any hair. So it just looks weird to me. So I'm not trying to beard hate on my brothers that I love, I respect, and I'm not trying to put you down, because it's more than just that. And I don't want us to lose sight on the bigger picture and talking down on brothers and that grow beards and brothers that wear a long tie versus a bow tie. It's beyond that, brothers and sisters. It really is. And I understand the spirit in which my father, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, spoke about the beards being germ catchers. And it was more of an article dealing with hygiene. At one time, when I was I had to be about 10 or 11 years old, I used to hate getting haircuts. And my mother back then, she would have me get what we call collegiates. I mean, they clean your head. So one day I had to get my hair cut because my father was coming to visit the house, and my mother wanted me to have my hair cut. So I had rocks in my jaws, and I was upset because I had my hair cut. And back then, you know who I wanted to look like? Michael Jackson. You know what? I wanted a fro like that. I wanted to be like Marlon and Tito and Jermaine with a big, big old afro. And back then, it was a trial. It was hard to get your hair cut back then. So my father noticed. He said, "What's wrong, son?" And my mother told him, she says, he's upset because he didn't want to get his hair cut. And all my father just said was, "Son, you don't want to get your hair cut?" That's all he said. And I just, it just killed me. But his gentle way of just saying, "Son, you don't want to get your hair cut." That's all he had to say. I was done. But that was my young time of, when I got my hair cut, I would take the hair that was falling off into my hands, and I would take it home with me, put it in my pocket, look at it. Oh, my hair's gone. I was sad. I was just young and immature of understanding the wisdom of my father, of keeping us clean cut, shaven, as his recommendation. I've seen followers, I've seen family members with mustache and beards, and I don't want to make this a beard war and mustache. We love all those who support, claim, and love the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, whether you're wearing a beard, a straight tie, and if you're white, we respect and love you. It ain't about that. And we're not going to get caught up, brothers and sisters, in this thing about the beards versus this and what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we understand this was a recommendation of hygienic reasons. And there are those, as was eloquently stated in the posts or comments, that there's some people with skin conditions, there's some people, and who are just used to wearing beards, but that doesn't make them any less of a follower of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I want to make that very clear. And let's not get that superficial in judging each other. We got work to do. You see this beautiful universe in the back of us? I want to be part of the we community, that we put up the mountains and we put up the skies. We put up the heavens. We establish the rivers and the lakes. We were part of that collective will and that collective mind of Almighty God, Allah. And in order to do that, let's be more loving, more forgiving, more in unity with each other, to see the bigger picture. Look at this universe. Look at this universe. And we're fussing and fighting. We're like a cosmic speck of dust in the grand scheme of things. So, brothers and sisters, I hope and pray that we can benefit and learn and grow from this and strive to be better students and helpers and aiders in this great resurrection work of the dead. Thank you for listening. I look forward to being with you next Saturday at 3 p.m. We will go more into the first atom. Where is that atom? Well, you're standing on it right now. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.